Hello, everyone. Today, I will make a presentation titled "How We Treat SBOM of Open Source Software for Renesas OSS series." I'm Yoshiyuki Ito from Renesas Electronics, Tokyo, Japan. And today, this presentation mentioned that the Renesas open source activity, which is the first application of the SBOM, and then use case of SBOM, something like the license management of the open source software. And then, and after that, industry trend of the SBOM generation for, and SBOM, how to generate SBOM for ARCA BSP. And in final phase, this presentation mentioned that the trend in the latest SPDX community, one of the SBOM format. And one notice. In this presentation, I will make a presentation about the ARCA series. It's just one device group of the broad Renesas product lineup. So quite a small range of the our companies. So I did not mention the intend the formally announcement or nor future business business strategy. As you know, Renesas have a quite long history of the open source contribution. For example, Renesas joined Linux Foundation from 2011. And before then, 2003, joined the C Linux Forum as a Hitachi and NEC and so on. And also, we joined the AGL from 2014. So quite long history of the open source software. And as you know, Renesas keep the about 10, 11, or 15 class of the Linux kernel contribution list. So we able to say we're expert of the Linux kernel. And also Renesas make a support team as a one of the business division to encourage our ecosystem for open source software related to ARCA, our product. So we're discussing about the SBOM in the quite early stage of the technical trend of the SBOM. And in the SBOM community, like a SPDX or Cyclone DX, in the initial discussion of the SBOM community are target aiming that the how to treat license information, license compliance, open source license compliance of the software. Of course, as you know, latest SBOM community also focusing on the security issue and how to manage software package itself and data set for refer to software package. But in the initial and the current already have the record of the SBOM document are able to say the license information is the initial, the first target of the SBOM description. And also, in the open source software, and ALCA SOC, like ALCA, in general, many software package contained in the product line software modules, software product. For example, product line operating system, like a product line OSS, like Linux kernel drivers for our specific SoC. And in some time, proprietary software combined with those Linux kernel and open source software as a product line deliverables. And also, those product line software package contain the open source software without any modification, as is package as a deliverables. In this presentation, those deliverables are mentioned at the BSP, board support package, but in general, many products, software products are consist from other many variety, large, have a wide range variety of the software which have the different license scheme. So we, software supplier as a SoC vendor or set vendor who use the open source software have to manage the open source license of the each modules in the product, software product. Sometimes those software contain the automotive vehicles or IVI system or those embedded system. And sometimes it's hard to modify, have to solve those license violation software. And so no software supplier allowed that violate the open source license, even in the just one module of those huge scale software product. So in the latest technical trend, set vendor or automotive manufacturer OEM prefer to manage those software licenses with the SBOM, software bill of material. That's a latest trend of the software license management. And the in the representative document about the SBOM minimum element for the software bill of material, which delivered by the U.S. government body, mentioned that the SBOM might be better to think with the two chain because the software license is sometimes modified by those development community. So software user, open source software consumer have to keep those software license modification to catch up those software license modification. So in the EDL world, it have to better to generate SBOM every time to building the binary with the tool chain. So it said that the tool chain that read the entire source code, the compile setting and the library configurations during the build scheme should generate the SBOM of the final product. That's a ideal world idea, but so in the SBOM community, sometimes SBOM generation tool chain is combined with the binary build tool chain. And next, the industry trend of the SBOM generation for Arca PSP. As in these few years, in the automotive market, several tier 1s request to provide SBOM. As I said, each set vendor and each OEM of the car manufacturing industry wants to manage open source software license. So I remember that in the 2015 or those years, some European tier 1 starting to request to provide the SBOM to tier 2, tier 3, and so on. So SoC vendor, Renesas, starting to provide the SPDX as a SBOM software license list. And about 2019, they're growing the debate, discussion held within the OSS community about the OSS license management. In Japan, open chain project are starting discussion about how manage open source software in the embedded product. And 2021, the discussion on cyber security, including the embedded devices, was intensified by the US Executive Order 14028. And in the NTIA has clarified the definition of SBOM. From that time, 2021, SBOM discussion related to SBOM is quite hot issue from even in the embedded software. And last year and this year, legal requirement related to cybersecurity in automotive market, such as the UNR 155, 156, are being implemented. So our automotive industry software engineer have to care, every engineer have to care about the SBOM to ship our product to tier 1 and OEM. However, of course, SBOM itself is required to do some human resource to generate and maintain catch up the latest license scheme of the every software module contained in the our product. So every time we in-house software engineer have to care about the cost and customers' demands. In general, cost of the SBOM generation is slightly lighter than the few years ago because the SBOM generation 2, open source SBOM generation 2, widely accepted in the industry, and maintenance of the SBOM is easy in recent year because the some open source tool chain like a Yokt project accepting the SBOM generation rule. And the demand side are emerging in latest year, customer requirement, industry trend, and risk management of the supplier side. So, Renesas Renesas Arca open source related software division starting the responding SBOM demands of the customer. As I mentioned, the generation and the maintenance cost of the SBOM for our product, there are two cases exist as a representative the pattern of the software SBOM generation. One is the source code, SBOM for source code deliverables, like open source software, Linux kernel, and so on. In those cases, customers can create their own SBOM from software code. So, not so strong demand for SBOM for those open source code deliverables, but in the both supplier side and consumer side generate their own SBOM, it's able to cross-check of the license information between those supplier and the consumer side. So in the supply chain, each entity able to check license list with their own SBOM, comparing the supplier's SBOM and the consumer side SBOM. And Renesas used those SBOM generation of the open source software with the Yokt project. Because the Renesas selected the industry standard development tool chain in the Linux BSP for our Arca series product. Before those emerging SBOM requirement from 10 years ago, we are utilizing those industrial standard tool chain of the Linux system. So it's quite easy to generate SBOM with those industrial standard system. And Yokt project itself, it's already supporting the SBOM generation as a standard recipe, like create SPDX.pb class. So just use those standard tool chain to generate SBOM. That's all. source code deliverables. However, in another case, SBOM of the binary software package. In general, when SBOM generate with the open source SBOM generation tool to our own binary product, SBOM contain the source code structure of those binary products. In most cases, binary product of SBOM for binary product not preferred to describe those detailed source code structure because the binary deliverables is the proprietary, in many cases, proprietary software. So those detailed source code structure is the one of the secret item. So we vendor, source code vendor, software vendor have to care about how to generate SBOMs for those binary software. However, in general, proprietary software had a simple license condition. That's a proprietary. That's all. So easy to describe SBOM without tool. So we have to care just which SBOM format to use the SBOM for those binary products. Renesas selected the SPDX Lite format for SBOM without open source SBOM generation 2. In the SPDX 2.2 defined in the 2021 accepted the SPDX Lite format as its reference specification, part of the formal specification of the SPDX. So we able to use those Excel file format as an official SBOM format. And SPDX Lite is contained in the ISO IEC 5962 2021. One part of the annex at the ISO ISO standard. So quite easy to provide those Excel, a license list of the Excel format as a SBOM for the binary software. And next, the trend in the SPDX community. SPDX was proposed as the file format for managing open source license information and adopted as the ISO standard in 2021. And SPDX listed the SPDX listed listed with the Cyclone DX and the SRID as a format for describing SBOMs. And SPDX utilize the one file format of the SBOMs, or flowing the SBOM file through the all software supply chain. In sometimes unskilled supplier contained in those software supply chain. Renesas ourselves know the importance of the SBOM and open source software license is quite complicated, we know. But sometimes in the vendor, in the supply chain, didn't know about the those importance of the SBOM and embedded complex issue of the open source software license. So we have to ask each supplier of the software to manage open source license of those suppliers' product. And in the SPDX community, not the Renesas, SPDX community also care about how to encourage those unskilled supplier to easy to able join those SBOM exchange flow. And as I mentioned, Renesas utilizes the SPDX Lite format, and that SPDX Lite format are proposed from a Japanese industrial community to the SPDX global community as a handwritten, human-writable, but compatible with the machine-readable SPDX format. And the Japanese SBOM community, Open Chain Project, Japan Working Group, proposed the SPDX Lite, pick up the mandatory important item from SPDX to rewrite to spreadsheet. We name Open Chain Japan Working Group named the SPDX Lite format at those Excel style license list. And SPDX, global SPDX community got accepted Annex G of SPDX specs 2.2.1. And that specification selected at the ISO standard, so that Excel sheet format, SPDX Lite format, is one part of the ISO standard. So Renesas used that Excel sheet format at in the real business for automotive industry. And in the SPDX community, further SPDX improvement and proposal discussion, and Japanese community, Open Chain Japan Working Group, also proposing the several items to those further improvement of the SPDX format. In the version 2.2 proposed the SPDX Lite, and version 2.3 proposing how to manage end of life of the software package, and this year we are proposing the SPDX Lite format update. And last year, Open Chain Japan Working Group achieved the several proposal with the SPDX community. In the SPDX 2.3, it enhanced SBOM description to manage end of life of the software package, and giving contribution from Japanese automotive industry, and the concept of the expiration date for SBOM was adopted due to expectation from not only automotive industry, but also from contributors in the field of the AI profile of the SPDX community. That's last year's discussion. And this year, SPDX community discussing about the SPDX 3.0. And SPDX 3.0 might be expected to conclude at this August-September timeframe. And SPDX are catching up the latest SBOM discussion. For up to last year, 2.3, primarily SPDX format treating open source license compliance. However, from SPDX 3.0, which would be released this year, high reliability and security of software and AI and machine learning data set transparency, concluding the format of the SPDX format. So SPDX format is the shifted, quite complicated format, object structured file format like as a JSON LD, used as the default format of the newer SPDX format. So in beginning of this year, our SPDX Lite format, spreadsheet format, is phasing drop-off from the SPDX 3.0. So we, Open Change Japan Working Group, proposing to keeping SPDX Lite as a simple and easy way to describe license information of the SBOM for real industrial use case. Even SPDX emerging very huge and complex file format structure. As of now, SPDX Lite format, SPDX Lite profile for SPDX 3.0 is almost accepted by the global community. So as of now, we are continue to use the SPDX Lite format in the future SPDX format. Of course, as of now, it requires some tool chain to convert file format from Excel to those JSON LD format, but it's keeping quite simple description. So we able to handle SBOM for simple binary software product. In this presentation material, some contact methodology of the Open Change Japan Working Group of the SBOM sub-working group, mailing list and Slack URL are described in this presentation material. And in final promotion of the our demonstration, Arca S4 starter kit are demonstrated in the demo showcase out there. So please visit our Renesas showcase. Yeah. And the conclusion, it explained how to generate and how to provide SBOM with the an example of the open source software for Arca series. A case in which we respond to customers' SBOM requests with a little additional effort by using industry standard development environment. And in relation to this, it mentioned how we use SPDX Lite format, which proposed from Japan, and incorporated into the part of the standard SPDX format as a standard ISO IEC, and that it recognized the forms of the full set SBOM. And also, it explained activity of the Open Chain Working Group and SBOM-related committee that proposed SPDX Lite format from Japan, as well as the current discussion activity in Japan to propose the next SPDX format. That's all of my presentation. Any questions? Please visit Showcase and me. Please let's discuss about the future SBOM for embedded system and archives for. Thank you so much.